We are a little bit in the dark here. Welcome to the ZT audio channel. I'm having to do this from the kitchen table because my studio is currently in the process of being upgraded with better carpeting and a bunch of other stuff. So hopefully it won't be too much of a trouble for us. It's an exciting day because Roland has announced something really huge for the Fantom, the flagship Fantom, the one that was released in 2019, the big one, and there it is. Fantom EX, if I can get that to kind of show up a little bit better on the screen. Fantom EX is a brand new operating system, a brand new update, I should say, for the Fantom, with a number of exciting features. And we're going to go through this feature by feature today. I'm not going to take a lot of time to demonstrate each feature. That would be a 90-minute video. I don't have time for the hours that it would take for me to do that, much less expecting somebody out in YouTube land to watch a 90-minute video going through all of this stuff. So I'll go through the features one by one, and I'll probably come back and do individual videos for some of these features and go into them with some detail. So for the Fantom EX update, I'm going to go through these features and particulars in sort of reverse order of awesomeness, at least from my perspective. And so, number one, let's just rip off the Band-Aid. The least awesome thing about this update is it is a paid update. It's going to set you back $199, just ripping off the Band-Aid on that one right away. I think you'll see that this is an extremely good value owing to the things that are being added in this update. But I have to put that out there right off the bat. By the way, I did get an early beta copy of this update from Roland for review purposes and to give them some feedback on it. They were very gracious to do that. I did sign a non-disclosure agreement. I have not been compensated as in being paid by Roland for doing any videos or any of this. They have, however, provided me a free version of, they provided the software to me for free. So I want to make that up front. That doesn't affect the way I do reviews or rundowns. Frankly, in some of the breakout videos that I'm going to do later, I do have some comments which, I don't know if you would call them complaints or suggestions, but it's not all happy talk, and it's not just reading from Roland's script. So keep in mind, you're taking a look at an update that's going to cost you almost $200. It's $199, okay? Second, in least order of awesomeness, there's a lot of work Roland put into this. You may have noticed that you haven't seen a major update for a while. The last update we saw, version 3.02, was a month or two back, and that was primarily some bug fixes and some stuff under the hood to kind of make Aftertouch work a bit better. That's been a little bit of an issue with the Fantom. And also to make some of what you're going to see today possible. I get the impression that there was a lot of work to get that happening, and believe me, in particular, one of these features, you're going to see, yeah, I don't even know how they did that. I would have called that impossible, technically impossible. So keep in mind all of that. Features in the least order of awesomeness. Let's hit the menu button. Let's go into what I believe it is. What is it? Is it utility? Yeah, utility, and then you've got a wallpaper section. Well, for a while you've been able to select these different wallpapers from Roland that they provide you, those are kind of cool. You can sort of customize the system, but if you want to further customize the system, you can now choose your own wallpapers. I imagine that the manual that comes out with this will tell you, or the supplemental manual will tell you what format it's got to be in and what resolution and all that kind of stuff. But you flip to user, you select a user file. I don't have a USB key stuck in there right now, but it would be on your USB key, and you would import it from there, and there you'd have your user wallpaper. Not a huge thing. Certainly not something that would make this worth $199, but it's there. One of the things that I always try to do is I try to start from a known starting place that we can all go from. So I'm going to hit the single tone play before I go to this next thing. And it is, if you go into menu and effects edit, there's our effects edit menu. We've seen that many times before. And if we hit edit in the reverb chorus section, you'll notice here's our standard stuff here, nothing fancy. but let's go and edit our reverb. Right now we've got the SRV 2000. There's lots of ways to do this kind of, select this kind of stuff on the Fantom, but I'm going to go ahead and just hit this to get the drop down button. And you will notice at the bottom, in addition to the 7 types of reverb that we've had available up until now, you now have a modulation reverb and a shimmer reverb. These are fully featured shimmer and modulations reverbs. You can take a look at it and you've got all the controls that you would normally expect to see on a standalone pedal or rack unit that provided this kind of effect. There they are. Are they good is the question that people will ask. Yes, they are good. I'll probably do a video later actually showing how good they are. They're really good. They're really effective. Do I think people will be selling their Strymon Big Sky? Probably not. But it's a really good shimmer reverb and it's a really good modulation reverb. That's going to be a big deal for people who do soundtracks or soundscapes, ambient music. This kind of effect, shimmer and modulation reverbs, they're really popular with Sunday morning worship bands. So there it is. It's all built into the Fantom right now. You don't need to go to an outboard unit. And if you have an outboard unit, what this means is that you can use your separate outputs and you can have one separate output plugged into your Strymon or whatever you have, and the other output, your own internal reverb from the Fantom itself. So that's kind of a big one. I didn't see that one coming, but I'm really glad to have it. Moving on from there, you have now SMF, that's standard MIDI file capability, playing in your sequencer. So you can have standard MIDI files located on your USB key that contain all your sequencer data and everything like that for all your songs. And you can use that instead of the internal sequencer of the Fantom that works in kind of a pattern and clip loading style. You can just play directly from SMF files on a USB key. That doesn't give you any ability to edit, really, that I've seen. It does, however, give you the ability to play those things, and you can't record to SMF files, but there's a lot of SMF files out there that some people have. That's under the Scene Edit menu, and under the Scene Edit menu, why is it under the Scene Edit menu? Because your sequences are a part of your scene, and they're saved as a part of your scene. So in this case, what we're going to do, we're going to go down to our song. There's a new category called song, and it's sequence type. We can change this to SMF player. And now, when we've changed it to SMF player, if we go over that way and under our sequencer section hit song, we'll get the SMF player utility instead of our standard editing tools for our built-in pattern sequencer in the Fantom. And then from there, we've got, your standard play, rewind, whatever controls. You can transpose the instruments up and down. You can set your tempo differently. You can do lots of different things like that. And what you can do, and you can even do things like you can mute certain tracks and save that as a part of your configuration for this SMF playback. Maybe there's some stuff in that SMF file that you don't really think maps very well, or you just only want to play certain parts of it so that you can play other parts yourself on the Fantom live. You can also mute tracks the same way. If I hit the SMF button, what I'm going to get is it's going to tell me there's no USB memory available because I don't have one in there right now. But what it does is it allows you to navigate through the directory on your USB key, select what song you want to associate with that scene, set up your parameters here, including loop points, okay? And when you get that done, you write the scene and you save it so that whenever you come back to that scene and you hit the play button on the sequencer, it's going to play from SMF instead of the Fantom's internal sequencer. Now you can save this per scene. So you can have one scene using the pattern sequencer that's built into the Fantom, and whatever song you built up that way, you can have another scene play a particular SMF file. You can then, on another scene you select, right back to the pattern again. Very, 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 very effective way to run all of your music if you're playing out live. You've got a choice of ways to do things. Now, unfortunately, you can't use both at the same time. You can't play an SMF file and launch patterns at the same time. That's unfortunate, but frankly, that would get to be a little bit complicated to kind of keep that straight in your head. The next feature I want to talk about, this is going to be a real big one From the very beginning, Fantom has had incredible DAW integration. If you've seen videos on how well it integrates with stuff like Mainstage, Logic Pro, and Ableton Live, you'll note that like you get a bunch of information on the screen here, and you can almost run your entire DAW directly from the Fantom, without ever even looking at your laptop or your computer screen. You even get all the controls up in some cases for whatever synthesizers or VSTs you're running within your soft synth host or your DAW. New for Fantom EX, it now supports not only Mainstage and Logic Pro and Ableton Live, but it supports Cubase and Studio One with that same great level of integration. Quite frankly, we're now at the point in time where among workstation products, there is nothing that even approaches this level of integration with DAW control. It's just not out there with the competing brands. You've got to go to a standalone MIDI controller, and usually the more expensive ones. And from what I've seen, the level of control that you have is not even necessarily as well integrated. Could be wrong on that, but you'd have to get a specialized MIDI controller that supports this kind of functionality. And I don't even think it works as well in that case. And that's built into the Fantom. So again, the Fantom, just as the center of your studio, wow, it is really taking on a new roles. Support for all of those major DAWs. Are they going to add more? Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. The next feature is one that you may already have on your Fantom. And again, we're in single tone play. I'm going to hit the synth section because I want to get over to, what do I want to get over to? I want to get over to, I want to get my model over to, I want to get over to adding Enzyme. We've got Enzyme as a part of this update. If you bought Enzyme before, you may feel a little bit squirrely about this because you've already bought Enzyme. I don't have any clues whether Roland's going to do anything like offer you a loyalty discount on Fantom EX. But even if they don't, the value is still here in this upgrade, and I think you'll see that as I go along. But if you haven't bought Enzyme already, it's now a part of this update, and here you go. You've got a wavetable synth built into the Fantom. There are no other workstations out there that have a built-in wavetable synthesizer. So again, a capability unique to the Fantom, and it's now going to be built in as a part of this update from now on. You'll just have it. Moving right along from Enzyme, getting out of there, you will find, if you go to your pianos, you will now find in your Supernatural pianos, there's a Supernatural acoustic piano. You have a ESX N01. That's the first Supernatural acoustic piano model that came out for the Fantom. That was available a little while after the Fantom first came out when they added Supernatural acoustic capability. You then have a Bank EXS N03. That was another update that was available that added a different Supernatural acoustic piano model with a different character to it. And now they're adding, you're going to jump up to EXS N04. And what this adds is a new Supernatural piano that they're referring to as the New York Grand. I'm not sure exactly what that's supposed to be because Steinway's a New York piano company, but sometimes they think of that as a German piano. It's a little confusing to me, but it definitely has a very different character than the other Supernatural acoustic pianos, and it definitely has a different character than the V piano as well. While we're on the subject of V pianos, the next feature that's being added is you have another V piano model. And that V piano model, if we kind of dive in here and start looking through our pianos, we've got V piano presets. That's the original one. And then there's MX. In my beta copy of this shows up as type M09X01. It may show up as something else. I think that's just an internal code that they were using while they're doing that, while they were putting this together. Who knows? But there it is. It is the German concert grand the piano model. And again, a very different character of piano than the V piano model that was already available there. And that new EXS004 New York Grand model, again, very different in character from either this or the other ones that are in there. So you're starting to build a library of modeled pianos here. You've got a total of 5 of them now, 2 V pianos and 3 Supernatural acoustic pianos. The Fantom is really getting fleshed out as a complete solution here. I mean, you don't just have a couple of variations of pianos. You got 5 different modeled pianos now. Next feature that's coming up, this one bowled me over because I've been wanting it for so long and I haven't had it. And it's been available on the Jupiter 8, and it's been available on, it's been available on the Jupiter X, and it's been available on the Jupiter XM and the Juno X, and I've had it in Roland Cloud, their Zencore model. There's a model of this that sits underneath the Zencore category, and it is the JD800. The JD800, one of the all-time great synthesizers that Roland has had in their stable of synthesizers. The JD800 was kind of like the follow-on to the D50, where you had manual controls right up front for everything, and you didn't just have that one little control and a tiny little display to edit parameters. It's a beautiful sounding machine. It came out with 64 patches, almost all of which I think were designed by the legendary Eric Persing. You heard these patches on everything when this thing came out. It was on Michael Jackson albums and Jean-Michel Jarre albums and just everybody was using this thing, okay? You're not limited to 64 patches, by the way. You're limited to as many as the Fantom will hold. You can actually store more patches than you can on the Jupiter X or the Juno X, which is a great feature you've got. In addition to that, man, my dog's all excited outside. In addition to that, you've got this wonderful Axel Hartman designed interface that you get this beautiful screen real estate and the controls that are off to the right-hand side here. And you can edit things on the screen, or you can use the controls, the jog wheel, or you can use the controls that are available that I'm moving off screen here. A great interface. In some ways, I think people would like this better than the Jupiter or the Juno. And now it's built into the Fantom. And that is so cool. I wanted this for a long time. And there it is, right built in. The next thing, and the last feature I'm going to talk about, this is something that I would have guessed was probably impossible. And you see what I've got on the screen here. It says ACB. There are 2 types of modeling technologies that Roland uses. One is ABM. That's what's been available on things like the Fantom so far, as well as the Juno X and the Jupiter X series of synthesizers. And that is a low resource, meaning it doesn't churn up tons of processor power, models that are designed to sound very, 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 very much like the originals that they model, and they kind of get the character of the sound, but it's not that precise level of modeling that you get on Roland's System 8 synthesizer. The ACB models are very precise. They chew up horsepower like nobody's business. It requires 3 of Roland's specialized chips on the System 8 just to enable a single model of a single 8-voice model of something like a Jupiter 8 on the System 8. Somehow they've managed to tweak this to be able to get ACB to work on the Fantom. And so there you go. You got the Jupiter 8 realized not in ABM. We've got an ABM model in there too, but now we've got the actual ACB, the super finely detailed modeled versions of these synthesizers as well. And you get 2 of them. You get the Jupiter 8 and you get the SH101. I'll show you that one later. And another great thing here, again, you get all of this screen real estate. I've checked this out, and parameter by parameter, all of the parameters that you would have on your Jupiter 8, with the exception of something like the splits and layers, which are not available here. They're all available here, plus a couple of other features, and I'll talk about what they are. Again, one of them is this great Axel Hartman, interface, where all the features pop right up. A second one is you've got this series of controls called condition and circuit mod. And this is, you can kind of dial in whether you want your Jupiter 8 model to act like one that's fresh out of the box or one that's been around the block and been beat up and maybe not cared for in some level of disrepair or whatever. So you can really get some great effects this way, and it really helps the machine to sound much more analog than you would typically think a digital virtual analog would. You also get a built-in effects section. If I go into that, you'll see that we get built into the Jupiter 8, we have an overdrive, a distortion, a metal pedal, a fuzz pedal, a crusher. Actually, those are all forms of distortion if you ask me. But you also get a very good phase shifter. Okay, so you can get that phase shifter in there. Basic controls are available for it, but there you go, you've got a phase shifter. The same kind of thing goes for the SH-101 as well. You get a bit crusher effect there. There is another feature that's built into this, though, and it's very cool. The ACB models, the Jupiter 8 and the SH-101, they have this thing called the map. And what this is when you hit the map button, two things happen. One, you get the entire Jupiter 8 out in front of you there, where you can see all the controls move as you move the knobs. And again, this great Axel Hartman interface that they've got available for you makes this super easy. In some ways, I think this is almost as easy as having a knob per function like you have on the System 8. What you can't see are a couple things, like off to the side here, your left-hand section where you have your rotary encoders and your sliders. These now switch to a different mode where they will affect parameters as well, like the VCO level, the cross mod amount, the portamento speed or amount, LFO rate, VCO, and various, modulation controls and stuff like this. So I'm actually moving those knobs over here. So wow, a whole interface appears here to allow you to really dive into the Jupiter 8 and design your own sounds or edit your own sounds with a complete view of the instrument. You can still go into the normal mode and zoom and pro and go, get more in depth into things like the phase shifter has more controls available when you go to pro mode. And then of course, in addition to the Jupiter, you've also got we go in here, you've got an SH-101, and the same thing applies. Call our parameters up, there you go. When you move the filter here, it moves on the control works. When you hit map, these left-hand controls change to some new features. You'll learn them very quickly, believe me. And then your right-hand controls in that synthesizer editing interface, you can see the controls affect directly on the screen. Really kind of cool. What are some limitations of this? Well, some limitations of this, with the Jupiter 8 model, you only get those 8 voices. It's strictly an 8-voice model. That's very accurate. It's just like a Jupiter 8. What you don't get is the ability to do splits or layers. That's something that you could do on the System 8. That's maybe a small thing considering all the other ways that you can layer things on with other instruments on the Fantom. You can only use one ACB model at a time, and it has to be used in zone 1 where your V piano is normally used. That seems to be like zone 1 is the high processor usage section. So caveat, if you want to use your V piano, you're not going to be using an ACB model at the same time. If you're going to use your ACB model, you're not going to use the V piano at the same time. You're going to have to use one of the supernatural pianos or something like that. That's a limitation. I'm not sure how much it's going to affect anybody's real ability to do music. The other question that comes up is like, okay, well, you've got the SH-101 and the Jupiter 8. Those are two extremely popular synthesizers that Roland came out with, and there are ACB models for those on the System 8. There's lots more stuff available on the System 8. There's a Juno 60, there's a Juno 106 ACB model, there is a Jupiter 4, there's a bunch of different monophonic models. Roland is a funny company, and they won't announce anything until it's available or its availability is absolutely imminent. I don't have any specialized knowledge on Roland from this. There's nothing that was said under NDA about this. Nobody hinted in, you know, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, or anything like this. I think it's safe to say that since these updates are things that Roland can sell in the future, either directly with lifetime keys as they do through Roland Cloud or using the Roland Cloud membership, it's pretty safe to say that they will continue to add additional ACB models so that you have most or all of the same ACB models available that would be available on something like the System 8. I could be wrong. This might be it. This might be as far as they're going to go with this. However, it seems like they put an awful lot of effort into bringing ACB to the Fantom just to leave it alone and leave a profit opportunity like that, leave money on the table like that. So there it is. There's the basic rundown in 12 minutes, 13 minutes of all the features you get as a part of the Fantom EX operating system upgrade. Again, it costs you some money. It's $199. For some people, that's going to be pocket change. For some people, that's going to be like, ugh, man, am I going to feed the dog this month? Am I going to skip lunch? But the value is certainly there. You get the OS improvements. You get the user wallpapers, the shimmer and modulation reverb, the SMF player, support for Cubase and Studio One with the unmatched DAW integration that is available on the Fantom. The Enzyme wavetable synth is now built in. A brand new supernatural acoustic piano, the New York Grand. Another V piano model, the German Concert Grand. The amazing JD800 ABM model expansion. I'm going to do a whole video on that one because what's going on here really adds something special to the Fantom, I think. And of course, ACB on the Fantom, something I would have told you were crazy if you said that they could do that. I wouldn't have thought it was technically possible. Pretty exciting stuff. That does change us from a 3 dot whatever operating system to a 4 dot whatever operating system. So this would be the fourth major operating system upgrade to the Fantom in a little over 4 years. The Fantom platform just continues to get better and better, and I, for one, am excited to see this and excited to see what comes in the future. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.